My talk today is titled Visualizing Memories of Venezuelan Migration. I'd like to start by posing a question that I've been thinking on and that I think as scholars and as students, it's useful to reflect about. What does it mean to have a meaningful professional life? Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in a speech at Stanford Law School, encouraged audiences to seek meaning in their professional lives by healing fractures in their communities. She said, if you want to be a true professional, you will do something that's outside of yourself, something to repair tears in your community. That's what I think a meaningful life is, not living for oneself, but living for one's community. For me, Ruth Bader Ginsburg's words really epitomize the heart of engaged scholarship. To me, it's about creating connections between campus and community. It's about addressing urgent social concerns and repairing tears in our community. A decade ago, I first became interested in engaged scholarship when I was teaching overseas in Beirut, Lebanon for 3 years at the height of the Syrian refugee crisis. Upon my return to Montana in 2016, I became very interested in how migration issues and human rights issues were playing out in the Rocky Mountain West. And I had the opportunity to meet several displaced Venezuelan families that had migrated to or sought political asylum in Montana. As our children's lives intertwined, they shared their experiences with me and my family, and their desire for the host community to understand why they left Venezuela and why they are here. I'm going to play a brief clip in my collaborator Jova's words, talking about experiencing some of these divisions in our communities when she came to the United States.
Yo creo que uno tiene que tratar de entender a las personas y a veces pues la gente no quiere inmigrantes en su país.
So this brief clip, Jova is talking about how she really believes that we should try and understand other people, but that sometimes people don't want immigrants in their country. And I think it really gets at some of the social tensions and cultural collisions that can happen between host communities and newcomers who come. And ultimately, these are some of the tears that I'm referring to in our communities. Together, our vision, this is the project that I'm here really to talk to you about today, is to co-create a socially engaged, online, interactive documentary to share her family and other Venezuelans' families' experiences with displacement, their liminal identities, and their evolving notions of home. Our distribution plan includes sharing these stories with local host communities, including in educational settings in particular, and with other migrant families. Our methodology in this project has been co-creation within the documentary praxis. So by this, co-creation has been theorized as an ethical stance for how one relates to communities that they may be creating stories with. The late Patricia Zimmerman, a film scholar, theorized that co-creation in documentary is really a constellation of practices that can entail a lot of different technologies, modalities, and can forge unique relationships with many different communities. So, there's a lot of diverse ways within operating within this particular methodology. But I think really at the heart of co-creation in documentary is the idea of telling stories with communities instead of about them. So at the key to this is really reciprocal knowledge creation. So in this case, what I mean by that is those with lived experience, in this case with migration and displacement and navigating liminal identities, are informing how stories about migration are actually told and how migrants themselves are represented. That expertise and knowledge is combined with those with technical expertise in media production, in storytelling, and in visual communication and filmmaking. And I'm so thrilled to have my key collaborator here with us today, Hannah Tran, right there, who's been working on the technical side of the project and storytelling side of this project to bring these stories to life for audiences. So this project has not been without many challenges. As the slide would suggest, film as a medium and as a communication device, if you will, is all about connection, connecting stories with audiences, and we often do this through faces and eyes. So in many ways, our project disavowed traditional methods of connection. So there's a couple reasons here I'll explain just briefly. The first was safety, in that our collaborators are seeking political asylum, and so that meant that we needed to conceal their identities on screen for their own safety and well-being, so that traditional way of connecting through faces and eyes was simply not possible in some of these stories. Archival, we also lacked or had very limited access to photos and footage or ways of visualizing memories and their lives back in Venezuela because they had to flee. Language provides another challenge that we had to navigate. There's really a lack of stories about migration in languages other than English. We were very committed to telling these stories in our collaborators' native language, which is Spanish. But for an English-speaking audience, having to navigate subtitles can prove to be a barrier to connecting with these stories. And lastly, I would say beliefs, contested ideals surrounding what it means to be American, American identity, and the politicized nature of immigration in this country can also pose a challenge to connecting with the stories that we see here. So I'm going to show a brief clip, which is the opening of Joba's story. And this short film is part of a series of short films, vignettes, photos, and animations that will compose the larger interactive documentary. And after I play this clip, it's about a minute long, I'll tell you a little bit about how we went about seeking to address these challenges in connection.
La idea mía era vivir en mi país toda mi vida. Creo que yo nunca me imaginé salir de mi país. Todo fue como difícil porque pues es un país nuevo y uno deja todo, la familia, todo allá en Venezuela, y pues uno tiene como que esa sensación de que no los va a volver a ver, quién sabe si en mucho tiempo o no los va a volver a ver más. Cuando yo me despedí de mi abuela ya es una señora mayor, tiene 98 años, y me dijo, bueno, hija, a lo mejor esta sea la última vez que nos veamos. Sí, hay muchos sentimientos.
As we can see in the opening of this short film, in Jova's words, one of the things that we're really striving to do as storytellers in this collaboration was to find alternative ways to foster connection between these stories and our audience via both our methodology and our content. So how do we do that? First, we strive to tap into universal human values and experiences to help us visualize memories through recreations. So family is something that's central to the human experience, whether it's family members that are related by blood or families that we ourselves have constructed. I think familial bonds and families seeking a better future for their children, in this case Giovanna's daughters, it was something that we felt like in filming we really wanted to tap into this common human experience through these stories. So this recreation that we filmed depicts their family crossing on foot by land between the Venezuelan-Colombian border before coming to the United States. Home is another universal element that touches all human beings. We all have a home, have nostalgia for love and comfort of home, seek to return to home when we're away from it, or if we are without a home, seek to find one. Symbols were another key element in our storytelling practice in trying to bring levity to the anecdotes and to find a way to represent these experiences in a way that was meaningful to our collaborators. So this is El Salto Ángel, which is a significant place for our collaborators. It's a very well-known landmark. It's the tallest waterfall in the world, which is found in Venezuela. And those towering cliffs and the structure, I think, its beauty, it reminds me of the role that Giovanna's grandmother, her 98-year-old grandmother, our elders have that pivotal role in our lives. And as the plane sweeps past the clouds, we are reminded of the departure that she had to make from her own nation. Lastly, we sought to construct visual metaphors that would convey relationships and emotion using creative imagery that we either filmed or found. So in this case, illustrating those goodbyes, the losses, and the grief that surrounds that, and this particular image of an airplane window with raindrops rolling down that resemble a cheer signify the loss of Jova's home, her belongings, her family, her profession, her very sense of self. In conclusion, I think filmmaking at its heart is about connecting across communities and audiences, and I believe that a socially engaged, co-created documentary practice offers the potential for emotional connection and empathy, to foster connections across cultures and communities, and that can begin to repair tears in our communities. Thank you.